You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Hemlock Grove After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Hemlock Grove After Show.
Yeah. Thing is for doing. And here we are doing the last of this season's amazing AFTERBUZZ TV, after show for our favorite show, Hemlock Grove. We're on season 1, episode 13, Birth, which is really funny how it's called Birth because there's a lot of death in this episode. Yeah. I'm your host, Shano, and I'm joined here by a bunch of lovely ladies in studio.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marisa Serafini.
I'm Tiona Hobson.
Hi, I'm Jurgens.
Hi, I'm Freya Tingley.
Oh, it sounds like her mic might be a little bit. Can you try reconnecting it?
Fix. Sorry about that, guys.
But yes, we have Freya Tingley in studio with us once again. Thank you so much for being here, Freya.
Thank you for having me.
And she plays, of course, Christina Wendall on the show. It sounds like we're still having some mic problems with her. Let's go ahead and fix that. But we have a lot of topics to talk about today. We're going to be talking about Shelley saving the day. We're going to maybe have Deran Sarafian, who's one of the executive producers and directors on the show. He's going to be calling in. We're also going to talk about how the town scapegoats Shelley, which is awful. Awful. And Letha, she has the child. Peter cuts his hair. Crazy stuff with that. Man. And we get to learn more about Olivia through her flashbacks. And we get to learn about Roman's true identity and his true self.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's talk about... so the episode starts, like, not the way I would have expected it to, which is we have, like, a flashback between Christina and Peter, and they're having this really endearing conversation. What did you think about that, like that scene, Freya? How did you play that scene? How did it feel with the big contrast between that and the final battle?
I loved having that scene in there. I felt that it really established the relationship between Peter and Christina more, which is what they went through with the summer. They really became close friends. And then, it's a huge contrast between her becoming the killer and expressing all that she has to express towards Peter, from going from friends to that.
Now, how much before her becoming the wolf was that scene? Like, when was it supposed to take place?
That was over the summer. And then they went to school, and then it was towards the start of school that she was, killing the girls. So.
Okay. So
I think at the beginning it said, did it say 6 months earlier?
Yeah, it says, I think
6 months earlier, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And she was talking about it like she was not in high school yet, it seemed like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
But Stephen just let me know that we have Deran on the line.
Oh.
Hello, Deran. Are you there?
Hello.
Hi. Hi, Deran. Welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV's Hemlock Grove podcast. This is Shano, and thank you so much for joining us, Deran.
Hey, Shano. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. So we have quite a few questions to ask you, and we wanted to thank you for joining us. Let's see. Let's go ahead and get started. Tell us a little bit about your background, like where'd you grow up? How'd you get started in show business?
Well, I got started... by the way, hi, Freya.
Hi, Deran.
I got started. I grew up in a business. I was fortunate enough to have a father, Richard Sarafian, and my uncle, Robert Altman, who were, I'd watched them as artists in the business, and so I was just fascinated with what they did. I mean, being on the set was so magical, and I just dreamed about it my whole life. And fortunately, I got got to do it and am doing it. It's great.
Yeah. Hi, Deran. Thank you for calling in. This is Marisa
Hi.
again. Hi.
Hi, Marisa.
Hi. You directed a good number of episodes. I think 6 out of 13. There was more episodes than all the other directors. How much freedom did you give the actors in their acting choices for their characters? Did you allow them to come up to you with suggestions to enhance their characters and their performances? Were you willing to change things that weren't working?
Absolutely not. We made them do everything. No, we were really, really fortunate to get just some really amazing artists to be in this show, and Freya being one of them. And they brought so much, and we were never really. One thing we did is we really looked at this as we could make changes if we needed to, and we did, and suggestions. And it was like a piece of clay that we molded along the way.
Yeah. Awesome. Deran, this is Tiona. Hi.
Hi, Tiona.
Hi. So we had your wife, Lori, in a couple weeks ago, and she talked about how much she just absolutely hated working with you on set. No, I'm just joking. I just wanted to ask you about your working relationship compared to working with the other actors. What are some of the challenges you see working with your wife on set? Because I know you guys do you've done a few projects together before.
Well, that's how we met. She was the lead in an ABC series, and we met working together, and I've always admired her. I thought she's one of the most amazing actresses I've ever worked with, and fell in love with her. And I always tell her, I said, I fell in love with your talent first, and she's just amazing. But, it's funny because at home she tells me what to do. So it's great. It's sweet revenge. I get to kind of boss her around, and I have a lot of fun doing it when I get to direct her.
Hi, Deran. This is JJ. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what it was like to collaborate with Eli Roth on this project.
I've always been a fan of Eli's. He's always sort of thought outside the box. I've really, really liked him. And when we first started this project, we had a lot of dinners and talked about it. And he's just got a very interesting sort of offbeat sort of look at things. And it was nice to meet him because he's just a great guy too. He's really a fun guy. And and basically, he did his thing and then handed me the reins to this. And we always you don't really want to mimic anybody because you want to bring your own style and energy to it. And I think that goes with all the other artists on the show too. I mean, we all sort of took it in a direction that, because the show is really a living, breathing beast on its own. And it was interesting watching it grow and turn into what it did ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How was it working with Freya Tingley on the show?
Well, it's illegal for me to really say what I really felt like working with her. And it's also pervy, so I really can't really go there. But she's amazing, and so it's funny because I worked with another actor that would come to the set every day in character, and his name was Hugh Laurie when I directed House and produced House. And every day he would come to the set with an American accent, and then at the end of the day, in his American accent, he'd say, "Hey, let's go get a drink," and then you go to the bar where you're hanging out, and it starts talking like this, and you're going, "What? Who are you?" Well, Freya was like that because Freya came to the set with this. She stayed in character and stayed in her American accent, and then when she speaks in her Australian accent, it really throws you. You're like, "Who are you?" Very, very, very strange. But she's lovely, lovely, and she's going to have a great career ahead of her. I'm really proud of her.
Agreed. Now, you directed the second episode of season 1, The Angel, which has the amazing, amazing wolf transformation. I know you talked about you had a few different influences in creating that, such as An American Werewolf in London and The Howling. Were there any other influences in the creative aspect of executing this?
You know, when I took it on, you know, I knew I had a big challenge ahead of me because I wanted to do something that had sort of a retro vibe to it. So I did look at those, but at the same time, with technology that we have these days, and we use Zoic to do all of our special effects. So I give them a lot of credit. Really, really, you know, it took time, but we got that face bursting out of. That wolf face bursting out. And that to me was everything, if we could pull that off. And we were also very lucky to have a great cinematographer that shot it. And what I told him, and this is Fernando Guelas, and I said, I don't want to do this at night. I want to do this at the end of the day, and I want that bright sun behind him. I wanted to, you know, and it's hard because, listen, it took all day, so he had to create that bright sun to give it a new, fresh, interesting look. And then Landon, our actor, brought an energy to it. And when we talked, Landon said, I wanted to hurt so good. I wanted to really feel like you can't tell whether it's pain or pleasure. And he just did an amazing job of pulling that off. And it's been interesting because I'm doing another show now, and I got this show because of the transformation. I'm doing Star-Crossed for the CW, and Andre Nemec, who saw the transformation, said, they got to have you do the show. So I'm really proud of it, and I'm glad it turned out. But it took a lot of people to pull that off, one being Greg Simon, who's my second unit director and associate producer, who really filmed a lot of the close-up elements, like the eyes hitting the ground and all that. And it was just, you know, it turned out. It's one of those things that it really turned out. I'm super proud of it.
It looks amazing.
Yes.
So,
Other than the transformation, was there any other aspect of this that was just your favorite part, or any scenes or moments that you really are going to remember about working on the show?
Well, I have to say, one of my favorite moments is the transformation that Freya did at the end in episode 13. And how she just lived and breathed her transformation. I thought it was great. She went to this, again, this is the pervy director directing her, but she went to this very sort of, it was ecstasy for her, changing and turning into this, and it was very sexy and sexual, and it really, I felt, was a different version of it. We didn't want it to be exactly the same. We wanted it to be her version. And she took it to just a wonderful level. And it's funny because my friends who see it and all that, they're like, who's that actress? Oh, my God. Amazing. You know, like, but that was her. That, to me, I think was one of the other best moments for me, was because it was less about the transformation. It was more about how she got there before the transformation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did you, how involved were you in the casting process for the show? Did you purposely go with an international cast to hopefully, you know, cross the whole international audience with especially Netflix?
I wasn't that involved at the very beginning of the casting. I was more involved in setting it up in Toronto, in all the elements of where we were going to shoot. I picked out the house that we shot in, and so, you know, I would see all the casting. I would see everything would come by me, and I'd give my 2 cents. I know that when we were in Toronto, I was very involved in casting the supplemental characters. I know, which we had some terrific actors from Toronto that were just amazing. But I would say I give a lot of credit to Brian McGreevy and Lee Shipman and Eli Roth for really finding the substantial characters in the show.
With the Vargulf versus the werewolf scene near the end, or rather in the beginning of episode 13, how did you guys film that scene? Like, how did you guys get like some actual wolves and like film them for a little bit? Did you do a combination of wolf and CGI?
Well, we did, yes. We did a combination of real wolf and CGI. If I had to do it again, I don't think I'd use real wolves because they're very difficult. It took us 5 days to shoot that sequence, and they're very difficult. And in fact, you know, when I was talking to the trainers, I said, you got to be really patient because you can't train a wolf. You negotiate with them, and which I thought was really interesting. And they kept throwing food at him, and I'm like going, stop throwing food! I can't get a shot. And they keep eating, and then when they're done eating, they won't give you the time of day. So and I think if I had to do it again all over, I probably would have used half-breeds, but those are real wolves. They're very dangerous, and we had and what's interesting is like the trainers would tell us, if you'll notice that the wolves will pick one person out, and usually both wolves will be looking, or the pack wolves will be looking at that same person, like a lamb about to be slaughtered, and it's true. And then when they focus on you, when you're with a crew and you're sitting there, it's a scary, eerie feeling. They're just because they look right through you.
Wow, that sounds pretty scary. Now, what about a little bit later, after the wolves are both dead, well, nearly dead? There's that one scene where Letha's character, she starts hugging Peter's wolf. Now, what about that? Was that a doll or like a robot?
We gave her a bunch of drinks. We said, go hug the wolf.
Just a big puppy.
and then she did. I said, I was just kidding. What were you, crazy? No, that was what we call a stuffy. And from another gentleman that provided us with the stuffed wolves. And when we did CGI, we got them to blink and we got them to breathe. And CGI, all their facial, because they didn't look like that for real. All those mouths, all those growls, all those dangerous looking eyes, that was all CG. And my thing was, I really wanted it to look real. I don't want them to look like CG characters. I mean, and that's expensive. You look at biggest movies on the planet that do this, and it's hard to pull it off. And we had a limited budget. And I have to say, Zoic really, really did a great job. Making those wolves look mean and real and having personalities. And then we enlarge them. We had them each one. We had slightly bigger. If you saw the original footage before all the stuff we did to those wolves, they're a lot smaller and they look very docile. They didn't look dangerous.
I know you and Eli always mentioned that the style of Hemlock Grove is very much like Twin Peaks, with the slow establishing zoom shots and tilts and pans and whatnot. And I picked that up, but then I also noticed a little bit of Hitchcock elements to it too, like such as the Crucible, when the particular scene when Christina is mauling Tyler. It's very fast-paced editing, and you don't really see her scratching the skin. It's like type of on the surface, just like Psycho, with you can Norman Bates, when he's stabbing you only see it on the surface, and you only see like blood as fast and whatnot, and let the audience use their imagination of how severe it was. And I kind of got a Hitchcock-esque feel to that. And then in Children of the Night, there was the shot of a stuffed owl. So did you add some Hitchcock-esque elements to it?
I got the opportunity years ago. I directed a film in Russia, and it starred Roman Polanski, and I got to direct Polanski, and I was in communist Russia with Polanski and really got to bend his ear and ask him a lot of questions. I watched every movie he did with him. And I like a lot of it. There's some Hitchcock elements in there, but I would lend my work, and what I was going after was more of a Polanski vibe. And because the characters there are very serious, but there's a slight sense of humor to it. And when I there was a point where I was working with Polanski. It's a funny story. I was trying to figure out how to direct a sequence, and I wanted that feeling. And I was going around trying to figure it out. And Roman goes, "Son, what's wrong with you?" I said, "Well, I want to do this right. I mean, I know there's a right way to do this, and I want to get that feeling like you had like in Knife on Water, and this movie, by the way, is called Back in USSR with Frank Whaley and Natalia Nagota." And he goes, I'm going to give you the best advice you're ever going to get. There's 1,000 ways to do it right, and there's 1,000 ways to do it wrong. Just pick one. And so then I finished. This is the movie that I did, in Russia. And so he goes, And I went back to him at the end of the day. I said, thank you. At tears in my eyes, I go, you freed me as a director. I mean, I get it now. Just pick one. You're right. He goes, that's nice, son, but you picked the wrong one. So, you know, and so we're always still dealing with that. But just to get back to your question, yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of all those Hitchcock and you know, I feel like there's a lot of elements of The Shining in it too that we really liked. And then there's movies like Enter the Void that is one of my favorite films that I really loved. I love the camera moves and the slow instead of speeding up sometimes it's better to slow it down and it feels faster. And we did a lot of that and had kept that in mind.
Very well. We're going to wrap it up with the next couple of questions. Deran, what's the biggest difference for you directing the show for Netflix versus working for conventional mediums like television and feature films?
I got to do exactly what I wanted to do. I mean, I really, really got to do what I felt like I wanted to do. I'm so proud of the show, and I'm really happy it got picked up. I'm sad I'm not coming back this next season, going off to do something else. But, you know, we got to do what we wanted to do. And, I mean, if you talk to David Fincher as well, I mean, they're very hands-off and very encouraging. And the show's doing well because of it. I think it's a 13-episode movie, and you've got to watch all 13, and it really works. I'm so proud of it. Proud of all the actors that did a great job, and Freya, especially you.
Do you think that what Netflix is doing here with the 13-hour movie feel, do you think that's the future of television?
You know, it's always going to change. Right now, it seems to be working. I think people want to sit down and, if you're going to tell a story through 13. Now, this wouldn't have worked if it was on week to week to week. It would have been canceled probably right away because you needed to see the whole show together, 3 or 4 at a time. Mm-hmm. And right now it is, but the future, it'll change again. So there'll be another way to watch TV. But right now it seems to be working.
Now, Netflix has had House of Cards, and that recently came out on DVD this month in June. Is Hemlock Grove going to be released out on DVD with maybe bonus features, bloopers?
Yeah.
Bloopers. Yes?
I haven't been told that, but I cannot imagine that they would not do that.
Excellent.
What other projects do you have going on right now or in the near future, Deran?
Well, I'm going to do the Rocky Marciano story. It's going to be a 6-part miniseries. Nice. And right now we're talking to networks about that. And I'm doing Hell on Wheels. I'm doing 2 episodes of Hell on Wheels.
Yes, love
for
that show.
AMC. And then I go off to do Star-Crossed for the CW, which I'm super psyched about. And it's a terrific project. It's an alien high school Romeo and Juliet story, and it's so wonderful. And I just love the pilot. I'm really happy to be on it.
Oh, that sounds fascinating. So what social media platforms are you most active on right now, and where can our fans from AfterBuzz TV follow you?
I'm on Twitter with spelled my way, DeranSarafian, and that's it. That's. I've been on there. I got on there today, and I've been taking pictures because we're shooting in Calgary in the floods and everything that's going on up there. Our set almost got washed away last week, and but that's where they can find me.
Oh, excellent. Well, Deran Sarafian, the executive producer and director for Hemlock Grove, thank you so much for joining us here at AfterBuzz TV.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it, and good luck. Your show's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome last name.
Bye-bye. Yeah, right?
Yeah. That's right. Thank you, Deran.
Awesome.
Oh, he was great.
Yeah.
That was fun.
And you worked with him very closely.
Yeah. He's a great director. He was one of my favorites because he was just so passionate and poured his whole heart and soul into what we were doing. And doing that final scene, where I transform, he was just allowed me to be very free with the material and not feel like I had to stick to what the line said. So he was great.
I have a question about that last scene.
Yes.
I know your mom was around a lot. Was she on set that day? Was that awkward?
No, she wasn't. No.
Okay.
Close set.
The whole time while I was watching it, I was like, oh my God, if her mom was right there, how awkward is that? Moaning. And, yeah. Okay. Moving on.
Let's actually kind of stay like on a similar wavelength. So you were naked. Was that you?
No.
Okay, that
These
wasn't
are
you.
A body double, yes.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right. That settles that then. I was gonna say, how did they cover you up in the sensitive areas? That's fascinating. Okay, so getting back to what happened with the final battle. So Roman, he's trying to fight off the Vargolf. He's trying to fight her off, and she ends up breaking the axe. It flies across the room. There's no way he's gonna use that thing, right? Mm-hmm. And then, Peter, like, he's not dead. He comes up, and it's like Black Wolf versus the White Wolf going on, and he gets incapacitated too. And we see Black Boots coming towards the fight scene, and it's Shelly. And I don't know about you guys, but I didn't expect Shelly to be there. Did anybody?
I did not either. I did not see that coming.
No.
How did she know that it was going down?
Well, in the previous episode, I know that Norman had told her where they were, so maybe she just had a bad feeling and started, when she took off running, which, how do you lose Shelly? I think she just headed straight for there to go protect her brother and her friends.
I find it interesting how Shelley doesn't seem like she'll hurt a fly, but when it comes to protecting family, she'll do anything to, stop evil from hurting them.
Yeah, I was so surprised. I mean, I know she's strong and big, but just the way she just snapped your neck, I just did not, I at least thought there might be a little struggle too, but it was just boom, over so quickly, and I was not expecting that.
Now, question for you, Freya. Do you think that Shelley knew that Christina was the White Wolf?
No. I don't think anybody knew.
Yeah.
Until, the very end.
Yeah, until the very end. And then she gets in there, she snaps her neck so fast, and it's like, boom, it's over. Mm-hmm. So that was so quick. But I'm glad it ended quickly, because then we get to wrap up, and we get to have like a falling action for the rest of the episode, pretty much. And another surprise, Sworn's up on the balcony with his shotgun, and he shoots Shelly twice.
Which I was confused at first, because I didn't realize that you had already turned back into you, so quickly. So I was like, why is he doing that? Why is he shooting her? I'm like yelling at the TV, and I'm like, oh, I get it. He thinks that, she was the one harming all the girls, and so I put it together. But another thing that they did a great job of having some surprises.
Yeah, and now they're pitting the murders on Shelley.
Yeah.
Poor girl.
Poor thing.
And the sad thing is that Sworn is the sheriff. He's the guy that everyone will listen to. So if he says it, it's probably true. Sadly enough.
Yeah, I feel like his daughter's deaths were the catalyst, and Christina was like a daughter to him too, and that really pushed him over the edge even further. Because imagine, he's like in this crazed state already from the previous episodes, and he comes in there and he sees this monstrously huge Shelly like over dead Christina's body. But the thing is, like, didn't you see that there's a wolf there right next to them? And then, wouldn't you think you would have pieced that together? Like, oh, it wasn't her, it was probably the wolf.
I think it's a lot of passion, too, at that point. Like, he made the comment at the funeral, like, he was able to at least put bullets in for each of his girls, but that other people didn't get to do that. So I think his just instincts were taken over, too. Like, it's all he could do to, like, get some sort of revenge or redemption for everybody is to just shoot her up.
He was definitely in the shoot first, ask questions later
Exactly.
state of mind. But at the funeral, when he said that, I got confused, because I was like, oh, well, Christina's like a daughter to him, so maybe I missed a gunshot, and he shot 3 times, but he still only shot twice. So then I was like, well, maybe Christina... I don't know if that was like foreshadowing because of what happens at the end of the episode or what, but it just kind of, I don't know, that kind of bugged me that he said that, and then he didn't get that 3rd shot in for Christina because she was kind of like a daughter to him.
Now, I wanted to fast forward a little bit since we were still talking about Christina a lot. So at the end, if you guys at home, if you watched after the credits, you get to see something really fascinating, and this is a spoiler alert. By the way. So pretty much
Spoiler alert!
Yes. So pretty much at the end of the credits, it shows Christina Wendall's grave, and as it gets closer to the grave, you hear Christina screaming.
Oh my gosh.
So here's a question, Freya: is Christina alive still?
We'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see.
I hope she doesn't run out of. I hope she doesn't run out of air down there, because she shouldn't be screaming so much, because she's gonna run out of oxygen faster. And I hope that someone hears her screams, because I kind of feel like season 2 could pick up right there, with maybe someone hearing her screams and digging her up.
Yeah.
Or maybe she turns back into a werewolf and crawls herself out.
Claws out of there. Yeah, she was pretty strong.
Can the random guy from the booth say something?
Go ahead, Steven.
Remember the uncle? He has to have his head cut off after he's dead, or strange things happen.
Oh.
That's true.
That's right. Because
Stranger in the booth with knowledge.
because we had Peter got attacked, and it looked like he was dying.
Yeah.
Like it pretty much looked like he died, and he still got revived somehow. So the wolf powers, man, they really do a number on the human body.
I don't think Christina's dead.
I don't either.
Just saying.
Well, let me just say, it's going to be awesome. If you come back for season 2, it's going to be fascinating.
Nah, can't wait.
Well, anyway, so the town totally scapegoats Shelley. And even on the radio, we hear Norman listening to it, and he's just, we get to hear like the town's perspective. Pretty much everybody's pinning everything on Shelley, and it's horrible for me to hear that, because we all know, as the audience, we know what's really happening. But then at the same time, the characters are really accepting it. But we don't get to see Shelley's perspective. What do you guys think was going through Shelley's mind?
I think it's sad because we know that Shelley can't really speak, so she can't verbally defend herself. And then the fact that her mother is rearranging this whole setup with Sworn and saying, oh yeah, it is her fault. Even her own mother's turning on her, which I find that kind of sad. I kind of would want to run away too.
Yeah, I was kind of mad that Olivia wasn't more concerned that her daughter had run off and no one knows where she was. She was shot twice. Is she alive? Is she dead? They cleared out her room really fast too.
Yes.
They empty out that room like there was nothing in there. It's like, dang, if I came home and my mom had done that to me, I'd be like, wow, did I mean anything to you?
The thing is, in the book, after the whole transformation fighting Vargolf scene, actually 6 months passed. And Shelley has ran off. So technically, Shelley's been gone for 6 months.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
big
I don't
time
think they ever
lapse.
said that in this episode. Yeah, 'cause
Not
I
in
thought
this
the same
episode.
thing.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, Olivia's been busy. She had movers come in and take everything out already. There's a hospital bed like earlier that morning in there still. So
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask Marisa, in the book, did it turn out the same way? Did Shelley end up killing the Vargolf?
Yes.
Okay.
We read that Shelley snaps the neck of the Vargolf, and then she runs off.
They mentioned something else interesting at the funeral. There was a conversation between Norman and Letha, and he said something like, "I want your childhood back for you," right? Something like along those lines. And I realized, like, Shelley, Peter, Roman, Letha, Christina, they all had such a really terrible like summer and fall, and it just they ended up, like, everybody ended up growing up, which was really fascinating.
Yeah, and you can see the character progression throughout all these episodes too, because at the beginning, even the flashback scene at the beginning of tonight's episode, when we see Christina talking to Peter, you can tell she's this immature girl. She's laughing at the word balls and whatnot, and she has this hatred towards women. So you can see that young immaturity level in like all these characters. But now, after everything has gone down, that they've grown up a bit.
Yeah, I actually have a question for you. Talking about character progressions, do you think, because I still feel like it's that Olivia seems to be putting a spell on Norman, and especially in this last episode, because I think he was such a strong character in the beginning, and then towards the end, he's just really being dominated by her. What's your feeling on that?
I don't know. There's definitely something creepy going on with her. I honestly have no idea. I'm with everyone else, I don't know.
Interesting.
How was it working in those scenes? Because during the last half of the season, you had a lot of scenes, mostly with DeGray Scott Norman.
Yeah.
And how was it working with him?
He's great. He's a very internal person, but he's very thoughtful as well. And yeah, I did have a few scenes with him, and it was great to just, I don't know, just be able to work with somebody of his caliber. It was great.
Now, on kind of a different note, last time we were discussing, like, we weren't sure, or I'm not sure, for if Christina knew she was the Vargulf and knew she was doing these murders. Did she know?
It was a gradual progression throughout the series, and by episode 12, she became completely aware that it was her. Yeah. It's like a sort of split personality thing. So the Vargulf is a metaphor and symbol for what we have inside all of us that's not necessarily us, but it's a part of us. And so she wasn't aware of that side of herself that manifested itself. And yeah, and then episode 12, she finally knew.
Wow. Well, speaking of knowing stuff, everybody needs to know about our new website. So go to AFTERBUZZTV.com, and guess what? It's going to be different now. It's totally updated. It looks amazing, right, Marissa?
Yes.
What are some of the big changes that we made to the website?
We have old past episodes now on the website. You can comment right there on the website. So, find Hemlock Grove, comment. And you can also watch the video and download on iTunes right from the website.
Oh, so it makes it a lot more streamlined.
And there's pictures, too. So you can see everything we're talking about.
Yay, pictures.
Pictures are fun.
Everyone likes pictures.
So Letha ends up having the baby, and was it just me, or did it seem like Dr. Price kind of like didn't care so much, like right at the beginning? He's like washing his hands, taking his sweet time, right?
And that cold look in the mirror.
And what doctor delivers wearing a three-piece suit? Or, I was like, where are the scrubs?
And earlier in the season, didn't he say something about not being the type of doctor who delivers babies to Olivia when she said, I want to put like the wing in? Didn't he say something about like, I'm not that kind of doctor, like I don't deliver babies?
Yeah.
So what was he doing there anyways?
Maybe he was just going to supervise the whole birth.
Because they were paging for a Dr. Day.
Dr. Day.
Yeah. I was like,
Who's that?
Who's that? I've
That's
never heard
not
that
in
name
the book
before.
either. That's not in the book. So I'm like, maybe we'll see him in the future.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, they're at the White Tower. We have learned that white is not a good color. So something's not going to go right there. So.
And it didn't go right, because the next scene we see Letha is she's by herself. Why did they leave her there on the bed bleeding? Just like blood oozing everywhere.
Oh my God, that was sick.
And she was moving so much before. It's like I was almost picturing like a dragon to come out or something. 'Cause that belly was really like moving. I'm like, there's like some animal in there or something.
Some creature.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to backtrack a little bit. I loved the interaction between Christina and Letha last episode. So when we were talking about how creepy it was when you were like in the backyard,
Right.
And then you came inside and you were like, stupid effing little. How did you play that scene, Freya?
It wasn't written like that. I think it was something. I think nothing was said actually originally, and then Deran came up to me and he said, "Can you say this?" And I was like, "Yes, I can say that. Let's do it. Bring it on." And it was fun, because it just gradually reveals what eventually happens.
It does.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like.
Beast within.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
it was a foreshadowing,
Yes.
pretty much.
Yeah.
And that episode, it took us like on a roller coaster. We think she's creepy, and then we're like, oh, okay, she's getting more innocent. Maybe she's not the killer. Maybe everything's okay. And then,
Right.
And then eventually we get to see what happens.
Yeah.
So getting back to Letha and her baby. So Norman, he ends up grabbing her body, takes her out to Price, and he's like, save her, save my baby. He's like, well, what about the other baby? He's like, I don't care. And this was the first time we get to see this kind of interaction between Norman and Dr. Price. And Norman was like totally asking Price, like seriously, like he was asking like a man desperate to sign a deal with the devil.
Begging. Yeah.
Totally begging. And I just thought it was so fascinating. What did you guys think about that scene?
I liked that scene because it kind of showed Norman finally kind of giving in to Price's ways of doing things, because he's so desperate at this point. He just lost his daughter, that he is asking for the one thing that he's been trying to destroy and stay away from this whole time. So it's kind of, you see exactly how desperate he is, because he's been fighting Dr. Price the whole season, and now he's the only person who he thinks can help save his daughter.
I loved how raw it was, and I loved how, like, his line where he's like, "F that baby, she's my baby," and it was like, I just thought that was a great moment about how a father would feel about his daughter, and it's like he just wanted to protect her and keep her safe, and he couldn't.
Yeah, I found it sad and heartbreaking, but interesting how you see the whole power shift from Norman to Price. Price now has the upper hand, and Norman says this line that she's getting cold. And if you think about it, Olivia, when she killed Chasseur, she says, "I kept the body warm for you." So it makes me think that Price experiments on bodies that are still relatively freshly dead, I guess you can say. But the thing is that, sorry, what was I going to say? He says that Letha wasn't, is too old, which is, I think, bull. Because at the end of the episode, we see him take Olivia, who is older. He took Chasseur, who was older. So I think he still has Letha's body.
Yeah, and who knows what he's going to do with that, or even with the baby at this point. We get to see later on that the baby is, and it must be the baby that's in the attic, right?
Yeah.
Would you guys think so? Okay.
Yeah.
But how did they, because after he said, I'd have better luck with the baby than with Letha, I was under the impression that the baby didn't survive either, and then all of a sudden Olivia had the baby, so I was a little confused about all that. And I still want to see this baby because,
That's right.
I don't feel right calling it a baby yet because I don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah, I was too. I didn't know if Olivia and Price like worked something out then, or if she snuck into the hospital, the tower and got the baby, or what. That threw me a little bit too.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what the baby looks like, because so far, she seemed to care about the baby, number one. And so far, we know that the only babies, or rather children she's cared about, are the ones that have disfigurements. Like Roman had the cull, right? And then we had Shelley, look at the way she is. She's got like this humongous like insectoid eye, right? And so,
another thing, is that Shelley was also born with a cult too. They mentioned that in the book. So that completely makes sense, because then why would Shelley still be alive if she wasn't born with a cult? Olivia would have killed her.
True.
Yeah, and even Olivia, we saw with her flashbacks that she had some kind of disfigurement too. She had that tail thing on her spine, and now we know that's what was that
The scar.
That scar.
that we saw.
That scar that was on her back that Norman was like touching before, right? After they finished their rendezvous. Yeah. So Peter cuts his hair, and he looks so different with his head like completely shaved, right?
Yes.
Why do you guys think he cut his hair like that?
He's on the run. He wants to change his image, change his past. I think most people usually change their physical appearance when something major has happened to them, as a means to like forgetting about the past, like what happened. So I think it's just, he's changing his image.
Yeah, starting afresh and getting rid of that hair, which is kind of like werewolf hair.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do you think that Christina would have liked him better with his hair? Or
I have no idea what she would have liked.
she probably just likes Peter's personality overall, huh?
Yeah, it's all about the personality.
I feel like it was really, for men, getting older and like cutting hair off, it's kind of like symbolic for maturing and getting older and transitioning from being a boy to being a man. And I feel like he's grown up a lot, and he was a senior anyway in high school, but this whole event, the last several months in Hemlock Grove, has just really aged him a lot, I feel. And it's changed him in a lot of ways, for the worse in some ways and for better in others.
A question for you real quick about the werewolf thing. How far in advance did you have the scripts? Like, did you know from the beginning that was you, or was that a discovery as you went through the season?
Right. Well, after I was cast, my manager said, read the book. Something happens with your character. So I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, so then I knew, and I read the book, and But I didn't know how that was going to be written, and you know, we weren't getting scripts until like say a week before, so it was spontaneous.
Nice.
Wow.
I had a question for everyone. Peter in this episode, after he kind of died as a wolf and came back, all of a sudden he was having some really good ESP kind of moments. Was that something that he always had, or does it have to do you think, with like him changing outside of the full moon and possibly dying and coming back to life?
You know, in the book, they mentioned, because near the end of the episode, we hear Linda talking about this story of urinating this long red ribbon. Well, in the book, that symbolized he would have heightened senses in his chakras, his head chakra, which was called like Swadhisthana. I'm gonna butcher that word, but it's pretty much like the heightened senses of knowing things, and so because that confused me too.
Yeah.
And then I reread it, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is why he's understanding things are gonna happen before they actually do, because his senses are just heightened.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. And you're referring to that scene where he's in the hospital.
Well, there was
the pages like come up at him, and he's like, and he pulls his phone out, and he like already has it in his hand, ready to answer right away.
Yeah, that was at Destiny's house, and then
that was at Destiny's place.
Yeah, he got the phone call, and then he shot up from in the hospital right before they started paging crazy things about Letha and stuff, and so I was like, wow, he's got like the magic right now. Like, he just knows things are happening.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, and another thing, he even saw that vision of Shelley when they were driving down the road.
Yep.
And he saw her in two forms, in her earthly form, and he saw her in her catabasis form too. So that was interesting. Let's talk about Olivia's flashbacks. So we finally get to know at least a better idea of how old she is. What period do you guys think that was?
I don't know, but anything that starts off with "in a faraway land" means it was a very long time ago.
A little allusion to Once Upon a Time?
Yeah, that's what I picked up on.
Yeah, they never really give a specific date either in the book, and you can see in the newspaper at the end of the episode, Olivia says age unknown, so we really don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wanted to say late 1800s, early 1900s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed kind of like that.
That seems about right
to me. But a little interesting side note from that episode, or from that flashback. Where is it in my notes? Okay, anyway. So I'm just going to do it off the top of my head. So Kiara Glasgow, she's the actress that plays young Olivia. And I actually have been watching the show that's on the BBC called Copper, and she's in that too.
Oh.
So it's so funny to see her. And both the shows are filmed, Hemlock Grove and Copper are filmed in Canada. So she's a Canadian actress, and she's getting a lot of work.
Basically, move to Canada if you want to be an actor now.
That place has happened. Yeah.
It is. So we also get to see in the flashback, Olivia, it was kind of funny how they didn't say it was Olivia right away. Like, even though she was telling the story.
And dressed in all white.
Yeah, dressed in all white. We had to kind of like watch a few minutes of the flashback to like learn that it was Olivia. And like the father had to say it right. Hey, Olivia, something. Anyway, she ends up being with a gypsy boy, right?
Dimitri.
Dimitri,
and he steals all her stuff, which is terrible. Totally stereotyping the gypsies right there.
The gypsies run, but then they have a baby. Well, she has a baby 9 months later, and the baby was named Magdalena. And if you recall, Magdalena is a Rumancek. She is like the great grandmother of Nikolai, which means that Peter and Roman are technically related.
I was going to ask if, like, the Dimitri boy or something, if maybe we thought he was, like, a descendant from Peter's family, that somehow these families had been fighting or whatever they are with each other for all these years. And I'm glad you pointed that out, because now it all makes sense.
Yeah, mind blown.
Mind blown.
I reread that. I was like, what?
Yeah.
That didn't click the first time.
I totally missed that one.
Good job, Marisa.
Yeah, well done.
Thankfully, the book. Thank God for the book. Thank you, Brian McGreevy.
So speaking of familial stuff. We get to learn Roman's true self, and within that, we learn that he was the angel that impregnated his cousin.
Roman, you are the father. Yes.
And didn't somebody have a little premonition during our episodes here at AfterBuzz?
Yeah.
I was like, what if? A few episodes ago, I was like, what if he's using his compelling power and he actually compelled her to believe it was an angel? And that's exactly what happened. So I'm gonna give myself a little pat on the back.
Good job, Sean.
Nice.
And I didn't even think about it after I said that on our show, and it ended up happening, which is crazy.
Now, do you think that was all on his own, or do you think Olivia had a part in making that happen?
You know, I don't think Olivia would have had very much to do with it.
No. I think
He just seems surprised to me by it.
Yeah, I think it was him glamming. Well, actually, in the book, I realized what the proper term they call it is called ecstasy, which is like a derivative of ecstasy. So it makes sense, like heightened, sexual pleasure, intense pleasure. So if he was doing that while he was impregnating Letha, then maybe it was just Roman's actions, and Olivia had nothing to do with it.
Freya, were you at all surprised that Roman ended up being the angel?
Well, it's hard because, I'd read the book and then I knew all the secrets as we were filming, so.
What about when you were reading the book? Were you like, oh, wow, he was the one who impregnated her by the end?
No, I think I was just kind of like slowly taking it all in. It's a very complicated book, so I was like reading things 2 or 3 times before I even got it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I can't even remember. It was like over a year ago now when I read it.
So he ends up, while he's with the baby there in the attic, like Tiona mentioned, completely cleared out. And it's how creepy is it that there's all these black candles and like the black baby basket or whatever it is, right?
Bassinet.
Bassinet. I'm a guy, so I don't know. And then whatever the stuff is that just like the sheets that are around that are like really translucent, you can see through them. Anyway, so that just the whole thing was creepy, and the attic was so dark, and Roman, he realizes what's happening, and he's kind of like, no, I need to be like a warrior, like the premonition that Destiny had earlier, and then when he was remembering about Shelley saying that to him too in her catabasis form, and he did the right thing with slitting his wrists the correct way to kill yourself, going vertical instead of across. And there was so much blood.
So much blood.
Yeah. We haven't seen that much blood since last episode with Peter getting his face eaten off.
I think it's interesting how the blood went upwards, up the walls, and not down on the floor into wings, angel wings.
Yeah, why do you guys think it did that? Do you think it was just like they were just doing it for like impressionistic purposes? Freya?
I think there's a lot of metaphors throughout the show that sort of symbolize in evil there's good and in good there's evil. And, we usually think of angels as being good and, coming from heaven. And, there's definitely evil in Roman and there's good. And it's sort of showing that angels could be bad as well.
That's actually fascinating that you say that, because he went through this journey. Roman was like this bad kid, like having sex with random chicks and like cutting himself, doing drugs. He goes into this catabasis. He comes out of it. He's like a changed man, right? He like turns over a new leaf. But then in this last episode, he ends up being bad again. I feel like he's turned, and he walked down the stairs after that whole scene. And I want to talk more about that scene too, but he walks down the stairs and he's just totally dressed in black, completely in black. And it feels like he's going to be like this tyrannical ruler of the Godfrey Institute and Hemlock Grove. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
Gosh, I thought he did such a good thing. I completely read that scene in a completely different way.
Oh, what'd you think?
I saw him as protecting his child from his mother and kind of like saving the day type of thing, and that he made the right choice in not doing what Olivia wanted and instead choosing his own path to go down.
You know what? That's the beautiful thing about the show, because it's so ambiguous.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, wow, I didn't even think about it your way.
I thought about it your way as well, but then I agree with you that when he was coming down the steps, I thought, oh, he's like getting a taste of this, like the evilness and loving it. And then I thought I wrote it down, but Olivia had like a warning line right at the end where she was saying like with the crown comes the something.
yeah.
And I hope you're ready.
With the crown comes with a price. I hope you're ready for it.
Yeah. So then I thought, oh, now this whole war is going to start back with with the.
The Godfreys and everybody hating them.
Well, yeah, not even just that, but then like the bishop and all those people that are about. I thought that was going to create all those kind of wars again.
That's right, and they did have that scene with the bishop and Michael Chasseur, and he totally points the finger at Roman. He says, he's the one that killed your sister. Not.
No.
Yeah.
This-
I'm totally team Roman right now, and I'm like, no, he didn't do it. It was Olivia, and someone needs to set the record straight. And like, you better not come after Roman now. And I used to hate him, and now I'm like, no, team Roman, let's go.
Michael's gonna avenge Chasseur's death
Oh yeah,
in some shape or form.
I don't think he'll be able to. Like, every time if these are obviously not the typical Upirs, these vampires. They're not typical, right? So they can walk around during the day, and they that's the most obvious one. And when he like kills himself, well, he killed himself, and he ends up coming back. But then all he does is take his mom's tongue out, and she ends up dying.
That's what confused me too. I'm like, how was she able to die from that? Because I would have expected, knowing her, she could just grow it back. Yeah. So I'm like, wow, she really is dead.
yeah.
That didn't happen in the book either.
Oh.
So I wonder why they threw that in there. Maybe just like to show Roman has power over Olivia now. But that does not happen in the book, and we know that Pumpkin Jensen's going to be back.
Yeah,
So.
and like Marisa was talking about that newspaper article, and in there, after it says that Olivia's age is unknown, it just says that she's reported as missing right now. So she's not being reported as dead. So I'm not believing that she's actually dead.
And we see that Price has her body too.
Yeah.
So she's not dead.
Before we head into our news and gossip, I wanted to also mention that we got to see Ouroboros and what it was. So, Freya, can you explain what we saw in that box?
Sorry, remind me what that was again?
Okay, so we look in there, and it's like this childlike embryo in like this, like, what was it, like a yellow cell of some kind within the box, and it was...
It's like a
It looked like
cocoon.
like a
It looked like they were growing a
Yes.
child, like they were
Yeah.
growing humans in there.
Yeah, like they were cloning something. and that's what
Bioengineered.
Yeah, bioengineering.
Yeah.
That's what. So do we ever? Do you think next season we're gonna find out what Ouroboros really is? Is it gonna play more of a pivotal role this time?
I think it will, yeah. It was so mysterious and secret that I definitely think it will come up in the second season.
Good, because I want to find out. Like, what the heck? Like, I wonder if even Roman and Letha's child is a part of this project too. Like, I'm thinking that Price may have had a hand in what happened between them.
Yep.
Perhaps. Anything else? Any other topics that
Oh,
anybody want to talk
there's
about?
just a couple things, more references to birds.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That when Norman's talking to Letha, he said the line to everything there is a season, which is Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verses 1 through 8. And I actually looked that up, and it's just about there's a purpose for everything, and even like everything that's going on in Hemlock Grove. And then Letha mentioned, she's like, no, it's the birds, the actual singing artist group. So just another reference to birds.
I didn't think that Norman was going to go through with leaving his wife after Letha died, because I was like, last time when he said he was going to do it and then got home and she was pregnant, so then he didn't, and then this time he actually went through with it. I thought that was a little cold.
Yeah, I agree. That's where I still like am stuck on this theory that she's like, because she always pulls his chin and looks in his eyes, and then he makes decisions that Olivia does to Norman. Like, I thought it was interesting that at the beginning, or that he, so not the beginning, but he sells all of his shares to the Godfrey, Institute, so he has no part of it.
LOD.
Yeah, which was Price, right, or to Olivia.
No,
What
so
What
that
was LOD?
is that the bishop?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was the bishop.
Yeah, so
They signed the
sorry.
shareholder sales agreement.
So now it's just the bishop and Roman that share the company together.
Yeah.
So it's like he did that, and then I thought it's very cold that for him to go through with leaving his wife after his daughter just passes away. I mean, just dies. So I still, that's why. And then when she looks in his eyes and tells him, time to go to bed now, and he just immediately turns and goes. It's not like if he'd been waiting to leave his wife for so long, don't you think he'd finally be like, oh, we're together, or we'll go to bed together, or I don't know. I just I'm keeping my theory for next season. She's somehow like brainwashing him a little bit, or what you just called it, not the glamour. Yes,
I agree
doing
too.
that to him.
I totally agree.
Yeah, that's what I feel like too. I don't feel like he really 100% wanted to leave his wife. I feel like just the whole episode, he was so desensitized. And once he gets in there, it seems like he's just zombified, right? He just she even whispers to him like, "Yeah, go up to our room," and he's just like bump bump bump, like trotting up the stairs, like he doesn't really care, like he wasn't even excited about being with Olivia now.
And kind of giddy about it, and then they had the car scene, and I can't remember, like when he's making jokes about kind of what he's about to do to his wife, and I just thought, I don't know if I buy that a guy in his profession and his stature would be really kind of acting like this in that situation.
Yeah, if it's actual genuine love between those two.
Yeah.
I agree. Another thing, the line that Olivia says to Roman, that you're not a warrior, you are a dragon. And it was interesting because dragon's like a huge serpent, and then, serpent and snakes, that's evil. And even dragons have wings, and Roman is an angel. So, I don't know. I think there's a lot of symbolism there.
Oh, I like that. I like that dragons with wings thing. Yeah. That's a good one. Oh, man. Let's go ahead and jump over to our news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Well, I only got one thing to say. I saw a tweet on Hemlock Grove's Twitter account, and they retweeted Eli Roth, and he said, "Thanks so much, fans, for the demand, and we're gonna rock out with season 2 next year." Woo!
Yes, so excited.
That's awesome.
Yes, I'm very thrilled. I gotta say, Dean Aodell, who we talked to a couple of weeks ago, he tweeted me and he's like, breaking news, Hemlock Grove got renewed for season 2. I was literally working, and my 3 other co-workers here, Phil, Kathy, and Steven, they were in the same room, and I was like, yes! And they all looked at me for like a good 5 seconds straight. I'm like, Hemlock Grove just got renewed. And then I'm like, I just walked out.
She's not lying. Seriously, she went from like a 1 to a 10 in personality.
Yes. So Steven, as my witness, I just literally yelled out loud in excitement. It was awesome. So I'm so happy it's coming back for season 2.
How excited are you, Freya?
Yeah, I'm super excited to see all the mysteries that are hopefully going to be solved and answered.
And hopefully you're going to be uncovered. Christina's going to be dug up.
We shall see.
I have a bit of news and gossip. Well, now that the season's over, I plan to go back and do a marathon watching of all 13 episodes. And I found a Hemlock Grove drinking game online. Someone else created it, so if you're over 21 and you want to have some fun, some of my favorite things to drink to are whenever Olivia wears a different white outfit, whenever someone vomits, whenever Roman touches his hair, or there's nudity, or if someone drinks out of a flask alone or otherwise, normally in a car. So that's just some of them. You can find all the rules on famousmonsters.com. So that's what I'll be doing this weekend.
If I could add something to that game, if you see anything that you think is awkward or weird, you could drink. Or if you see any signs of incest, you could drink.
Yes.
I got one too. Or if anything that makes the Ouroboros, the ring, like the glass and all those things we saw throughout the season.
Good one.
Roman did it this time on the car window.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he did.
If you see Dr. Price not talking into a tape recorder.
I read another thing that season 2 we know is coming back. It's slated for 10 episodes this time instead of the 13, and it's supposed to be streaming on Netflix in the year 2014, so next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for us Dexter fans, they pulled one of the executive producers from Dexter, I read.
Ooh,
yes.
Fascinating.
Charles H. Egley, who was executive producer, and he's now going to be the showrunner. He's the new Deran.
Excellent. Any other news and gossip? No? Let's move into our predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Yes. I feel like Christina is going to be brought back from the dead.
Can I throw out a prediction, guys?
Yes, Stephen.
Because I want you guys to think about this while you do yours. The way they film the scene after the credits, I feel that Michael, Dr. Shoshu's brother, is going to be looking into what happened to Dr. Chasseur, and that scene is him actually walking up towards Christina's grave to dig her up.
That's
Are we going to see
interesting.
Christina renewed?
That's interesting.
Okay.
Thank
That's
you,
an
Stephen.
interesting
You have given me something to ponder. I feel like I want to throw in kind of Tiana's thing that she said, where she's going to turn into a wolf while she's in there and like dig herself out because she's going to be a lot stronger. It would make more sense.
I want to see that one.
I think that'd be a nice
out of it,
introduction into season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to actually get to see what the baby looks like, and the baby will age during the next season. We will get to see it grow up a little bit, maybe. We're going to find out what Ouroboros actually is. And Roman is going to become the tyrannical ruler of Godfrey Industries. I kind of said that already.
Yeah.
And I think Sworn is going to kill himself with a suicide bomb attack.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All that C4?
Yeah, why was he putting all that C4 together?
Because, all right, I think that Sworn is going to use the C4 to maybe blow up White Tower.
Yeah, because he
Or
did
s-
mention something about he should just go over there and like blow up the White Tower with Price in it.
But also, he has nothing else to live for. Like he
why not?
he resigned his commission as sheriff. Both of his daughters are dead, and we see him in his dark, damp basement making all that C4 stuff. Come on, he's gonna probably go kill off himself too, just to show up the Godfrey family.
I have a few predictions. Now I can actually give predictions this time. I think Michael will roll into town, and he's going to have a throwdown with Roman because he thinks Roman killed his sister. Shelly's going to come back. Maybe she will have, because in the newspaper it says that she's an heiress too, so maybe she'll have some profit in the company. Maybe have some shares. Another one, the biotech baby is alive. In contrast to the biotech babies, I think we're gonna have adult biotechs as well, because we see Chasseur, Letha, and Olivia. Their bodies are gone. Price has them, or at least so we think. So I think we're gonna see adult biotech adults as well. And yeah, that's it.
I'm liking everything that's been said so far, so I'll piggyback off of those. I also think that with Olivia being reported missing, I think that Norman's going to go back home to his wife. And I think that Peter will be coming back to Hemlock Grove, and that him and Roman will continue their bromance, because I still don't think that Roman's going to be like super bad, but I do think that I'm taking it as he's manning up now because his mom's gone and Shelly's gone, so he's like, I got to take care of business. So he's going to be in there taking care of business, and then Peter's going to come back in, and they're going to be all like romantical and stuff.
I'm agreeing with all of you too, and because I think you have to have Peter come back. I was trying to think what it would be like if he was gone, and I'm like, well, so much of the season was about the bromance. If you don't bring him back, but so I think he's going to come back, and I think what I thought was going to happen all season, where it was going to be more of like the Bishop versus. I didn't think the two wolves would be the climax, like the huge part of the. Like the ending. I thought it would be somehow the and I'm forgetting League of Dragons. Why am I not wanting to?
Order of the
Dragons.
Dragons.
Like I knew it wasn't right, but I cannot think of it today.
LOD. That's why you were thinking of League of Dragons.
It threw me off. Yeah, I still think there's going to be some war with and especially now that we saw the bishop telling him, Chasseur's brother, that it was, Roman that killed it. I think it's setting it up for a fight with them, and I think Peter will come back and join Roman's side for that. And I think with Olivia being gone, I think that she is putting Norman in a trance, and I think there's going to be a point where he wakes up to it, and he's going to come back as powerful and kind of fight against things as well.
I actually, I think opposite of the bromance between Roman and Peter. I think Peter's going to come back, and we're going to see the disintegration of their bromance, and there's going to be that traditional Upirs versus Gypsies quarrel that they've had for like centuries. So I think maybe we'll get a taste of that instead.
I want to see them break the cycle. Like, don't be like your ancestors. Break the cycle. Start something new.
Maybe we'll see that.
I think since we see Peter sees Shelly at the end, I think Shelly's going to communicate with Peter the same way she did with Roman in the coma, and kind of try to get Peter to help her. And I think that Roman is going to get addicted to the same drugs that Olivia was on.
Ooh.
Yeah, and we're gonna find out Olivia's drug problem.
I was very
We
mad.
kind of
Peter-
like brushed that.
Yeah. And I was also mad Peter didn't pick her up. I was like, come on, you're leaving town. Like, you could just at least be like, get in the car.
Freya, any predictions from you? Anything that you can say?
I think all of those are great. I would love to see what Olivia was all about, and then, you know, what's happening to Peter. Where's he going, and when is he going to come back?
Great. Well, that about does it for us here at AfterBuzz TV's Hemlock Grove podcast. But
Season 1.
yeah, season 1, all gone.
Darn.
Next year we'll be here for season 2, hopefully. And I wanted to thank Freya Tingley for being here. Thank you so much for joining us for your second visit.
Yes,
here.
thank you for having me.
Thank you.
It was so great to have your insight and helping us discuss the episodes. So thanks.
Yeah, and a special thank you to all the guests that we've had in the past weeks. You know, Gonya Dio, Freya, of course, twice, Dean,
Laurie Fortier.
you know, Lori, Famke, of course,
Darren.
Darren. Joel.
Joel de la Fuente.
I'm like literally
trying to go through
like trying to remember who we had.
And special thanks
David
to...
Stratton. So yeah.
And also publicist Maria,
Yeah,
right?
and Maria Candida, thank you so much. We couldn't have had all these amazing people come in and talk with us if it wasn't for her. So shout out to Maria.
And thank you, Marissa, for rounding us all up as well, because of all your
Yeah.
hard work, we wouldn't have this either.
And
Yes.
happy birthday, JJ.
Happy birthday, JJ.
Season 2 of Hemlock Grove, the best birthday present ever.
Agreed.
If you guys would like to follow us, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Sean Austino.
I am on Twitter and on Instagram at Serafini TV.
And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at TweetT22.
And I'm at JJ Jurgens on Twitter.
And I'm at Instagram and Twitter at Freya Tingley.
Thanks so much, guys. We'll buzz with you next year.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.